Today, we divided the workshops into 3 parts. Okay? The first part is the social enterprise process, the framing process. Okay? I will guide you how to develop the problem solving or how to define the problems, how to develop a statement for identifying your social issue. That's the first part. The second part is how to do the business planning. The business planning we will discuss today is not a full business plan skeleton. Okay? It's just the core part. The core part is the social enterprise elements that you all need to address on. Okay? Because I think in most of the websites, we have a lot of resources like a business planning template, business plan software. So that part, I think you can handle it by yourself. But for how to define the social elements, how to define social issues, and how to develop the theory of change, this is very important that I want to give you a briefing on that. And then the last part is how to design the business model. I have been teaching for the Hong Kong government about how to develop business model just 2 weeks ago in a public workshop for the social enterprise practitioners in Hong Kong. And I think I would like to also share some of my findings and some of the theory in business model generation for social enterprise so that you can take around 1 hour for understanding the business model. So, and how many of you will come with us to the David Borstein talk today? How many of you? Just a few? Oh, come on. Now, if you have time, okay, we still have some vacancy. I encourage you to join us to attend the talk by David Borstein. Okay, he's the one who wrote the book, How to Change the World. Okay, this is a very famous writer in social enterprise. Okay, so, okay, let's start the workshop today. Okay. Some of my workshop content are developed from other resources like Young Social Enterprise Initiative is a Philippines non-profit making organization who is very, very active in developing social enterprise knowledge and education for teenagers. And part of my slides are developed from their resources, and some of the slides are developed from the book of Business Model Generation by Alex Osterwalder. And okay, this is the schedule of today. Okay, we have a quite packed schedule. We only have a 10 minutes break. So, what do we mean by social enterprise process? You may have heard a lot about social innovations. Okay, social innovation itself is quite abstract to understand. Okay, innovation means what? Means develop something new. Innovative means maybe creative, but you need to be tackle the problems in a new approach, a new way. So here are some examples of social innovations, like the MBA graduates to handle, to develop an online brokerage system to tackle the human capacity gap among non-profit organizations in India, and also some meal exchange using barter system, okay, or meal coupon system to help the poor to get some food, and other in Brazil, some other social enterprise develop something interesting. So these are just some examples. I will not illustrate every of these examples, but I want to tell you, can you develop something similar to them or something that not traditional one? Okay, I'll tell you what is traditional social enterprise. In Hong Kong, we have a lot of NGOs. Okay, their business model most likely opening a restaurant, a cafe, and then engage underprivileged people, engage their service recipients. What do we mean by service recipient is If they are a rehabilitation center, they will help some disabled or some mentally rehab persons, then those are service recipients from the NGO point of view. And most of them will try to think, how can I create a business operation to employ them, okay, to employ them as an employee, and then get them a job, and then improve their living condition, okay? This is traditional model, okay? Most of the Hong Kong social enterprise in Hong Kong adapt to that model because that is very basic, very basic. So how can we develop innovative business model? It's not easy, okay? It's very difficult. Or it's difficult because in the sense that you cannot imitate someone else's business model from other countries to Hong Kong because their system is different from us. Okay? You cannot just see these three examples and, oh, then I will create an online platform for the poor. But how can you reach the poor with your online platform? Okay? For example, the Brazilian or the meal exchange, how can you develop a meal coupons to help them to take food? Okay? Who will pay for the coupon? Okay? So all this mechanism or the process, the business process itself, is, we call it as a business model that we need to understand the fundamentals of the business process first. And then you try to create the value between your customers and your suppliers and your infrastructure inside your business operation. Okay? So let's start from the basic idea of how to define a problem. So innovation or innovating solution is one of the process that we want to do. And before we do that, we need to address to the problem. Someone may say social enterprise is just a business, okay? It's a business that can be sustainable, can operate continuously, but the main mission is not just profit making, okay? Social enterprise, besides making money, the primary mission is to help people or to change something, to give the society a better way to live and to give the people in the community to improve their conditions. Okay, so social enterprise is not target just for making money. But making money is very important in social enterprise because if you cannot make money, how can you sustain? How can you continue your operation to help people? So this mindset, okay, I hope you still have this mindset still into your mind because some people cannot understand that very much, especially NGOs people. Okay, when I touch them in a class, okay, most of them are NGOs practitioners, and they always doubt, okay, why this is social enterprise and why this is not, and in their mind they always think, oh, NGO social enterprise is the only way who can bring the social impact to the society. But you are students, okay? You are more open-eyed and open-minded. So problem, if you want to change the system, if you really want to help the poor, so you need to identify what exactly the problem inside our society. So when we frame the problem, we need to define it and try our best to ask the right answer, ask the right questions in solving the problem. So did we frame it properly, or can we restate the problem in a useful way? To define a problem, we need two situations. One situation is the existing situation, which can be easily identified because by observation, you can see, oh, there's a lot of homeless people on the street. There are a lot of children who are under the living condition, under the poverty line that you want to help, okay? And you cannot stand for that. So you can describe the existing situation. So existing situation is always what? is always under your expectation, okay? With this existing situation, you will have your ideal situation. Ideal situation means the condition that you find it the best way, the ideal way that you expect to happen, okay? So there is always a gap. There's always a gap between existing and goal situation. So we define problem is the gap between existing situation and the goal situation. Okay, it's easy. Because if the existing situation is very good, or 99% nearly to the goal, then there's no problem. No problem, then we don't need to exist as a social entrepreneur, right? Because the whole social system is so ideal. But in fact, most of the countries, most of the cities, we don't have this situation. So if you want to define a problem, you are not just observing from newspaper or reading from some of the books. You go on the street and look at them, and see how you feel. Like everyone, different people have different mindset or different perspective on the problem. So I may see a problem, but you may not see the problems. Because of what? Because of our value system. Our inside experience, our education background, our working experience will generate a difference between you and me in identifying the problem. So just use your own way as a teenagers. If you observe something, oh, I don't think this is good to the society. I think this is not fair, and you expect a better way for that issues, then how can you develop the solution? We call it a problem, okay? So background and events leading to the problems. For every situation, you have a context behind. The context means the background, okay? You can identify some background behind the situations, some data, we may call it as a parameters behind the situation. And then we have a current situation not satisfied and the desirable condition if the problem is solved. So you try to find out the solution. Now, be careful. Don't try to draw a solution too early, okay? You need to take it step by step. Step by step means you identify the problem first, and don't try to generate any solutions without a detailed analysis, okay? Now, many people like me or senior guys, okay, they will easily identify, oh, if that's a problem, I will use this solution to handle that, okay? Now, I encourage all of you, don't use that mind, okay? You are too young, okay? You don't need to, just use your experience to try to solve the problem. Use some very logical thinking, a logical way of problem solving to solve the problems. I will tell you later, but the first step is identify the problems clearly, and then don't make up the conclusion or solutions too early, okay? Try to leave it behind first. Now, example is a fishing village example that we use many times. It's simple because the background is, the context is a fishing villages of rural India in poverty, and they are using traditional fishery techniques. People die at sea and get cheated by the middleman for centuries. Okay, this is the background, the history. Okay, this is just a story, a hypothesis of cases. So the background is India, poor village, and they are doing fishing for their life. But how they do that fishing? Okay, they seem doing it not very well. People die because they don't know why they die, but they also get cheated by the middleman because they sell the fish to the middleman, and then middleman sell to the fish market. So existing situation is someone identify, okay? There is no access to the accurate information on weather, sea conditions, and food price, result in death at sea and being cheated on the sales of fish. So no access to information. And the goal situation, people said, villagers to be able to access the information accurately on weather forecasts, the price, the sea conditions, so they can catch more fish safely, and be fairly treated in selling the fish. So for the fisherman example, you can see we frame the context, we define the existing situation, we define the goal situation, and we try to draw a conclusion or solution. But at this time, we haven't done that yet, okay? We just draw the picture of the solution. Okay, exercise. Wheel case, okay. Wheel case is, who knows Marie So? Have you heard about this? A venture in development, so okay. I think I have taught this case in most of my introductory session in promoting the competition. This is the Harvard winning teams by a lady in Hong Kong called Marie So, So Jiguan. She graduated from Harvard Canada School of Public Admin. After graduation, he traveled to China and tried to discover something that she can develop for improving in the living condition in China. And accidentally, she discovered that a village with a lot of yak. The yak means, let's take a look at this example, okay. She traveled to the Western China, the nomadic community, Yaomuk Manzhong, is living under a very low standard, and they cannot afford the children to receive proper education. So she finds that the tangible asset is the resources of yaks. Yaks is a kind of animal, like a cow or cattle, full of hair on the body, and the hair can be used for weaving, as like a sheep wool. 好似啲羊毛咁嘅，好啲。This is the 牛毛 okay, 鳥毛. And they can be produced into cashmere-like textile, and the milk can be produced very high-quality cheese and yogurt and ice cream. But the whole situation is the village community, the people are without any education. They cannot access other information outside their village because they don't understand the works. And they just use that traditional way to do the agricultural farmings. And yaks were only used for domestic consumption, and local agents also exploit the nomadic people without paying a fair price for them to buy the hair. Okay. This is very similar to the Indian fishery village case, but this is a real case since 5 years ago in China. And Marie want to improve that. Marie said the goal situation she finds is they need a fair trade operations. Okay? They need to be treated fair on the price, and they can increase their technique in weaving the fabric, in the quality of the milk or fiber products, and they can enter into the international fashion market. So this is the goal situation that Marie imagined 5 years ago. And she thinks with the improvement, all the above, those communities can be improved and they can earn more money, and the money can be poured into the village and build up some facilities for children to learn, to study, and to get education. So a real problem similar to the hypothesis cases in Indian village, okay? The same. With a context, with a problems, with a goal, okay, we can frame the problems clearly with a framework, okay? So in order to solve the social problem, you may want to do many things. The slides highlight some examples. You may want to solve some physical conflicts or social conflicts, or you may improve the environmental conditions. You may want to reduce some negative impact, like reduce combat, reduce immorality, reduce illiteracy, reduce illness, or improve health. So you try to reduce something negative and improve something positive. And you may help the disenfranchised, disabled, underprivileged, or marginalized. Those are what? Those are someone who are not fairly treated. Those are someone who are underprivileged or not the upper class of the community. So it's quite the normal framework that you can develop more how you want to solve or who you want to help. But most of the social impact or social issues we address to all of these or some of these. So for example, in Hong Kong, okay, these are some of the examples we draw from some past training workshops with the audience together. For example, someone said in the teenagers' problem in Hong Kong, existing situation is a young student, they quit schools, they don't have money, and they cannot follow the education syllabus. And sometimes they're wandering around with no job and no purpose of life and no special skills for living. And they are having imbalance of wealth or too focused in the financial industry, okay? Those are some situations that people write it down as an existing situation. So goal situation is youngsters exploring their talents and improve their motivation to self-learning and to develop the skills for living and increase opportunity for them. You can develop more of the goal situation. Okay? This is just a incomplete examples, okay? But you can draw similar things, okay? Identify your context, identify the area that you want to focus, and then describe the goal existing situation and imagine the goal situation is, okay? This is the exercise that I encourage all of you to go through before you develop a social concept, okay? Because identify the problem is very important in finding the solution. Okay, I skipped that, okay? It's similar, okay? This is just example that you can read later at home. So with the problem definition, now we want to frame them properly. Why framing is important? Because sometimes when we try to define a problem, okay, we may not define it properly. And we need to rethink, think it twice. Think about how the problem can be stated or framed into a better way to communicate with people. And that framing process is important because we want to use the after framed problem definition to find out the solution. Okay, if you frame it properly, you can have a better chance to find the solution. Let's take a look at that. We use the simple example first, okay? The fisherman industry in India. You remember that, okay? It's fishermen contest, they don't know where and where to fish, they don't know the right price, so they can not fish safely or sell at a high price. So when we want to frame a problem, we ask, okay, is the problem definition too broad? Is it too narrow? Is it assumption-driven? Assumption-driven means what? That the problem is just something you imagine without evidence, okay? So try to avoid assumption-driven problems, okay? You try to make some evidence from newspaper, evidence from your friends, from your real interaction with the people. That's the evidence. And you see solution-driven. Solution-driven problems means sometimes you try to define a solution too early, and you want that solution to fit into that problem. Sometimes you cannot, control yourself because you have already a solution inside your mind, and you try to frame a problem that already exists, or even not exist, but you try to define a problem through the solution. that we call it solution-driven. So can we state the problem in its useful way? So example is the first one, okay, the upper one. The problem statement said traditional fishermen in rural India don't know where or when to fish as well as the right price to sell the fish. So they risk their life and get cheated by the middleman, and they can't fish safely or sell the fish at a high price. The underline is they don't know, okay? If the example, your first problem statement said you don't know, or they don't know, someone don't know something, okay? Don't know means too broad, okay? Not concise. You cannot use don't know to find any solutions. So a better example, if you want to restate the problem, you may call it or rewrite it as traditional fishermen don't have access to the accurate information on weather and price. Now, these red underline words compare, when you contrast with the first one, you find the difference. This is more specific, more focused, and have a better subject and objects in the sentences. Okay, at least you can find they are not ignorant or unaware or don't know. They just don't have accurate information on two parts, weather and price. So problem definition to problem statement means the process that we try to define the problem, but if we want to state the problem, we need to frame it properly and try to fix it in a better way to describe the problem. So that's the second step, problem definition, problem statement. Okay. The first step is key question. We also want to ask the key right questions. Ask the right questions. The purpose is, if you ask a question, you need to answer that. Okay? You are not just stating a problem. You want to ask, what if? Then, how can I help? So the first step is, after you state a problem clearly and fix it and frame it properly, you ask a question. The key question making example said, the problem statement, as in the previous slide, they don't have access to accurate information on weather and prices. So the key question converted into a question format. So how can traditional fishermen in rural India gain access to accurate information on weather and prices so they can fish safely and increase their selling price? So you can see at framing, the process of framing is to ask the right questions. And you need to get the right questions properly through the statements. So the previous process is you frame the question, frame the statement first, and then you convert it into a question so that you can ask people, how can traditional fishermen, or ask yourself, how can they get access to accurate information? Okay. If you don't frame it, if you remember previous slide, if you use, how can fishermen know how to safely fish or how to sell at the right price? Then if you ask that question, how can they know? Can you solve it? Okay, you cannot solve it because you cannot catch which direction you want to focus. So framing, you can see from this example, is quite very important in identifying a problems and making the next step. Okay. So for the showcase example, we come up with a real case now. It's the real case from Mauricio. The problem definition is with no means to connect to the international markets. Yachts were only used for domestic consumption, and local agents were exploiting the nomadic people without paying a fair price. And under unfair trading, nomadic community is living under a low standard such that they cannot afford their children to go to school. So this is the existing situation and the problems. And problem statement, you can rewrite it as yachts were only used for domestic consumption because the community don't have access to international market. Okay? We use the similar tactics. They don't have access to something, and local agents were exploiting them, and they are not having a good standard to afford to go to school. So the key question is, how can the nomadic community improve the living standard and get children to school by selling the yacht product at a higher price and avoid cheating by the local agents, and by improving the quality of products so as to sell at higher prices? Okay, so after you do a detailed analysis of the problems, then you come up from that context and develop your question to ask yourself. Okay? So for the social innovation process, after we define the problems, we will make a diagnosis, the second step. Okay? Framing, we frame the problems, we diagnose that, and we try to generate solutions, and we choose which one is good for us. Okay? Today we will not go through solutions, choices, or actions because it's too complicated, and we cannot teach it in just 3 hours classes. But at least I give you an understanding. Okay? The first important steps, okay, try to identify the problems and frame it properly first. And diagnosis means about structuring the problem to know its causes and gains deep understanding to remove them. So, like doing your job assignments, project assignment in the school, your professor may ask you to collect information, but you need to collect relevant information. And you bleach multi-dimensionality, forming competitive teams, structuring, organizing patterns, or issue analysis. Those are, I think you can find it in some of the problem-solving textbook. But you may do it in your own way. These are some suggested steps for you to do a very systematic problem analysis. But I understand most of the teams may not have enough time to do all the things. Okay, so just take a reference. Okay, at least you try to avoid being so subjective. Try to be objective in defining the problems, and try to objective in how to prioritize the issues and try to brainstorm something as a solutions or ideas for solving them. Several days ago, I tried to log into this ysci.org website, but it seems they closed down the website. But you may try it later. Okay, I think they will not close down. Try to log in for that and download some of the documents there. They have very details of a handbook for how to develop the social solutions through the problems. Okay, I respect their copyright, so I cannot copy them for you. So you need to go for that and try to read them from the website or download it from the web. So the next step, we finish the innovating solutions, and then we go into the planning stage. The planning stage means you need to understand your social enterprise, develop your type, and also develop the concept. Okay. Now, from the previous stage, okay, at least you identify a problem. You identify what's the important issues that you want to address. Okay. So how can you match that problems into your business concept? Okay. Then you need a lot of collect information or develop some ideas that align with your resources. For example, if you are a engineering student, you have some creative mind to invent a device, electronic device, for improving the safety of elderly. Elderly, sometimes they get lost on the street, okay? So you want to develop a device to track them, to get them under control, or to monitor the behavior or the role. So you have that infrastructure, okay? You have that resources, you have that talents and knowledge to develop a product, okay? For a business student, okay, if you don't have that talents, or you just imagine, oh, I imagine there is a concept that I can help to find the lost elderly from the street, okay? But you don't have that substance, then I encourage you not to go into that approach of developing electronic devices because you are not capable to do that. So for whatever social enterprise business plan generations, you need to address to your resources, infrastructure, your key partners, your activities, and then you try to develop them into some product or service that can match the needs of your customer. So we will go over that with details in the first session. Okay, so let's go into the next session is the planning. The planning stage, we want to focus on how to make up the social concept, the social impact. So here, we address to the social enterprise again. Some of the examples here, same as I mentioned in the beginning of the class. So the missions to bridge social opportunity and to get into a sustainable operations for solving the problem innovatively and efficiently and effectively. So those are some definitions or some background of the social enterprise definition that you can address on. Okay? But the most important part is here. Whatever business operation you want to do, you need to put into inputs. Okay? Inputs like resources, knowledge, people, and activities. Okay? The input will drive into what? Into a mission. So who comes first? Inputs or mission? Mission first, because you want to help, okay? Because you want to change something. So sometimes you come from the mission. From the mission, because you have some observation that, oh, this should not be happen. This is not fair, okay? So it drives social entrepreneurs to try to get some inputs. Now, in our competition, it's quite normal that you don't have enough inputs, right? It's always right because you are just, some of them are mature and graduate students, but most of you are students, okay? Students, you don't have enough resources. It's always true. So how can you have more inputs to drive to the mission? Okay, inputs means something you have on hand. But sometimes inputs are something that you don't have on hand. Okay, something that you are going to get from other people. What type of inputs you can get from other people? It depends, right? It depends. So you need to find partners. Okay, you cannot work alone. If you work alone, you will have a limited input resources. Okay, if you find some partners, you can have some partners to help you to contribute inputs to you. Okay, so this can be very creative. Okay, inputs can be very creative that you can leverage on someone else's resources and to do business without injecting any capital or money.